The story begins with a man named Daniel who was pulling his young son's ball out of the pool. His son had been acting strangely for some time. The boy was restless, often awake at night, claiming to hear disturbing noises that no one else could hear. His sleep was broken, his behavior changed, and he had grown distant from his parents. Concerned, Daniel and his wife called a therapist to see him. When the doctor spoke with the boy, the child revealed that the voices he heard at night were not just whispers. They told him to draw, to paint strange pictures. The boy had been making disturbing sketches, guided by something he could not explain. The therapist dismissed it as nothing more than an overactive imagination. She assured the parents that moving to a new home had made their son lonely, and in time, it would pass. But later, when the doctor left, something strange happened. As she sat in his car, a fly crawled into her ear. It irritated her, causing her eyes to water and her mind to lose focus. Her hands lost control of the wheel, and her car swerved violently before crashing into a tree. A branch pierced her mouth, killing her instantly. The fly then crawled out of her ear and flew away, as if nothing had happened. At that same moment, Daniel's son had finished another drawing. The picture he created showed a tree dripping with blood, a haunting mirror of the accident. Daniel noticed something unusual in their home as well. A patch of the wall was crawling with flies. He tried spraying them away, but the sight unsettled him. While he struggled with it, his son called for him to fetch his ball from the pool again. Daniel warned him to stay away from the water, unaware of how much danger surrounded them. Later, his wife called the boy in for a bath. Even in the washroom, the child heard unsettling whispers through a walkie-talkie he carried around. The boy began to question his father's love. He asked his mother if Daniel hated him, but she reassured him that it was not true. At night, Daniel's wife asked him if he had said anything harsh to the child. Daniel denied it, realizing his son must have told his mother about the voices again. He tried to calm her, insisting that loneliness was to blame and that school and new friends would help him return to normal. But the nights only grew darker. Strange noises echoed from the pool area, waking Daniel. When he stepped outside to investigate, he found his son speaking into the walkie-talkie as if in conversation with someone unseen. In the boy's room, toys switched on by themselves. He turned them off, only to sense a presence behind the curtains. Frightened, he retreated to bed, but the fear followed him. Something unseen crept toward him, and then hands seized his face. At the same time, Daniel cut his hand on a picture frame, blood spilling onto the floor. The next morning, things worsened. Daniel's wife revealed that their son had been suspended from school. He had hidden inside a cupboard and even bitten the principal. When told a doctor would visit him every day, the boy simply said the doctor was already dead. The parents dismissed it as nonsense until Daniel received a phone call confirming the therapist's accident. They assumed someone at school must have told him. That night, the voices returned, calling to the child through the walkie-talkie. He drew while listening to them, and soon a figure appeared in his room, a woman's ghost, the same presence that had been tormenting the family. Outside, near the pool, noises stirred again. Daniel, armed with his gun, searched the yard. He found his son's clothes scattered on the ground and panic set in. Rushing to the pool, he discovered his boy's lifeless body floating in the water. He dragged him out, but it was too late. The child was gone. The parents were shattered. Daniel's wife decided to leave for her mother's house to recover from the tragedy. While packing, she noticed bloodstains on a pillow, assuming it came from Daniel's injured hand. She left the house, while Daniel remained behind, mourning their loss. Watching old videos of their son, he remembered how happy the boy had been when they first moved in. The memory broke him further. Strange things began happening again. The television turned on by itself, and the walkie-talkie still carried whispers from the other side. Daniel tried to reach out, but no voice responded. When he left a voice message for his wife, she immediately called back, alarmed by the distorted noises she heard in his recording. Daniel listened again, and this time realized the static carried his son's voice, faint and desperate, begging for help. Certain that something supernatural was happening, he sought out a paranormal investigator he had once seen in an interview. Reluctant at first, the investigator eventually agreed to help and came to Daniel's house with his daughter Ruth. They set up cameras and devices, scanning for any signs of activity. Soon, Ruth noticed something chilling. On the camera feed, she saw a figure sitting in the room. She told her father it looked like Daniel, but he was sitting outside at that very moment. Her father entered the room to check, but nothing was there. Suddenly, Ruth's voice came through, warning him to leave immediately. The spirit was near. A piercing sound filled his headphones, shaking him with fear. He admitted then that the house was indeed haunted, and they would need to continue their investigation the next day. That night, the investigator wandered outside and thought he saw his dead wife. Drawn in by the illusion, he spoke to her, but the ghost trapped him. She offered him food and wine, whispering promises of being together forever. Then, in a horrifying twist, he found himself cutting his own hand with a knife. Ruth rushed in just in time to stop him, snapping him back to reality. Meanwhile, Daniel's wife received a phone call. On the other end was her son's voice. He claimed that Daniel had brought strangers into the house who wanted to harm him. He told his mother that he was hiding under his bed. Terrified and confused, she decided to return home at once. As Ruth stepped outside the house, she made a disturbing discovery. Several dead cats were strung up in a tree, their lifeless bodies swaying in the night air. Daniel buried the corpses of the cats outside when his wife returned home. She was shocked to see what he was doing and questioned why he had brought strangers into their house. At that moment, a woman approached Ruth and whispered the truth about the place. She warned her that the house was dangerous and urged her to leave before it was too late. Inside, Daniel's wife thought she saw her son hiding under the bed. She called to him, but when she stepped closer, the boy crawled further out of sight. Peering beneath the frame, she noticed a pair of feet on the far side of the bed, slowly moving toward her. Yet when she glanced back at the mattress, no one was there. Fear overcame her, and she tried to flee, only to find a woman silently standing behind her. The figure covered her mouth, and the room grew heavy with dread. Ruth's father explained the history of the house. Long ago, a woman accused of witchcraft had been tortured and murdered within these walls. The dead cats hanging from trees were remnants of rituals tied to her curse. While this was being revealed, tragedy struck. Daniel's wife took her own life, leaping from a window. Blood seeped from her ears as her body lay twisted, and once again a fly crawled out, escaping into the night. Losing both his son and his wife broke Daniel completely. He swore to uncover the truth behind their deaths. Sometimes he thought he saw them, standing behind curtains or in the shadows, only to vanish when he reached for them. Then the ghost attacked him directly, dragging him deeper into despair. Ruth, studying footage of Daniel's wife's final moments, realized something chilling. Even when she hanged herself, the ghost had been there, watching, influencing. Soon after, strange noises crackled through the walkie-talkie again, like the sound of fire. They hurried to find Daniel and calm him, but the feeling of being hunted never left the air. Ruth's father told Daniel that the witch's suffering had taken place beneath the house itself. Daniel remembered the wall crawling with flies and said he knew how to reach that hidden place. Breaking through the plaster, they uncovered a secret chamber. Inside lay the witch's skeleton, still bound to the earth that had witnessed her torment. Ruth's father touched the bones and was overcome with visions of the witch's torture. They agreed the only way to end it was to burn her remains. Petrol was brought down, and Ruth's father prepared to destroy the skeleton. He sent Ruth back upstairs, but when he entered the underground chamber, his torchlight flickered and died. In the darkness, the witch struck. Ruth called for him again and again, but no answer came. In another cruel trick, Ruth saw the figure of her dead mother calling to her, urging her closer. She knew it was an illusion and resisted, and the image faded. The witch appeared instead, revealing her twisted form. She closed in on Ruth, feeding on her fear. Meanwhile, Daniel searched for more petrol. The visions came for him too. He saw his wife and child smiling, asking him to stay with them. Desperate, he embraced them, but they dissolved into the witch's grip. Realizing he was trapped, Daniel poured petrol on himself, intending to burn away the curse even at the cost of his own life. Down below, Ruth's father struggled to finish what he had started, but the witch's hold was strong, and even Ruth fell under her influence. She turned against her father, trying to stop him from setting the fire. The witch had taken her mind, twisting her against the only ally she had left. In a final effort, her father struck the flame. The skeleton caught fire, and the chamber filled with smoke and screams. The curse cracked, and Ruth came back to herself. For a moment, it seemed over. Daniel was pulled back from the brink, and the house grew quiet. He looked at the drawings his son had made before his death. They were not random sketches, but depictions of each death, laid out like prophecy. The boy had known how it would all happen. As Daniel studied the images, a terrible realization struck him. The memories rushed back. The night his son drowned was not an accident, nor was it the work of an unseen spirit. Daniel remembered the fly crawling into his ear, the way his mind shifted, the loss of control. It had been him who held his son under the water. It had been his hands that killed the boy. The fly had left afterward, leaving only a drop of blood on his pillow, blood his wife had mistaken for a wound from broken glass. The truth crushed him. Racked with guilt and unable to live with what he had done, Daniel took his gun and walked to the pool where it had happened. With the weight of everything on his shoulders, he put the weapon to his head and pulled the trigger. But even this was not the end. The witch's presence lingered. As Daniel's body fell, her shadow loomed over him. He was not free, nor was she destroyed. The curse had not been broken. In the final moments, Ruth and her father studied new footage. On the screen was another girl, somewhere else, haunted by the same presence. The witch's reach had spread, and their work was not finished. The cycle would continue, pulling others into the darkness. With that, the story closed, leaving the house silent once again, but never truly at rest.